Hey guys, welcome back to another flashlight review. Today we're going to be looking at the Nitecore EDC29. It's one of two new EDC flashlights that Nitecore have just released. They've also brought out the EDC23, but the EDC29 was the one I was most interested in just due to the impressive specifications. I mean, this thing produces 6,500 lumens, 400 meters of range, pretty much unheard of for a light of this size. Nitecore have provided me a sample of the EDC29 for review. Haven't been paid to make this video, and I also haven't held back on any negative opinions of this light. I like that Nitecore have put their own spin on this flat style flashlight design. You do see a lot of different versions of this. Some of them have lasers, some of them have UV LEDs in them as well. But what Nitecore have done is that they've doubled down on the tactical styling, this tactical UI, and that high output. So I think this makes the perfect light for self-defense and also general use. So let's have a look at what you get in the box. Of course, you get the EDC29, and this comes with an inbuilt battery, so 2,500 milliamp hour cell in there. This is the box that the EDC29 comes in, and you can pause the video if you want to have a read of any of the details here on the side of the box. Specifications there as well. You do get a bunch of accessories, standard USB-C charging cable. Get a pretty chunky lanyard here that fits onto the clip, this area of the clip of the light. User manual here, and also a warranty card. So here's a side-by-side comparison between the EDC29 and a few other of my flat style flashlights. And, you know, it's probably a little bit larger than the E30, the Wuben E30. If we look at it sideways, but I mean, thickness-wise, the Wuben E30 is probably even slightly thicker just due to these auxiliary lights sticking out the front there like that. But yeah, quite comparable. You've got some smaller ones here as well, like I mentioned before. They're EDC23, probably 25% smaller. And you've got the Workhorse HD01 as well there. Okay, here's a little close-up of the Nitecore EDC29. And the EDC29 is constructed from stainless steel. It's got an internal carbon fiber frame as well. So it's quite a durable design, definitely more durable than most of my aluminium flashlights. And the light has this unique military / futuristic design. Don't know how to really describe it, but it definitely catches my attention. But yeah, you know, at the same time, it is definitely covert when you tuck it away in your pocket. And Nitecore are using a process for the finish, the coating. It's called PVD, physical vapor deposition, in order to apply a titanium coating to the shell of the light. And this coating is surprisingly grippy, you know, more so when you apply grip, you know, press onto the light more. And it's matte black, no fingerprints, anything like that. Looks and it feels premium. The overall machining as well is pretty good. There's no inconsistencies or rough spots anywhere on the light. You do have some knurling here on the side of the light, there, and on the other side as well. It just goes, you know, to the way you grip it like that. It looks like there's also some heat dissipation pads or ridges on the side of the light here. And yeah, there's an internal heat dissipation plate, in case you're wondering, because the light is actually made out of stainless steel. So they've had to use some kind of plate in there in order to heat sink those LEDs. You notice the head and the tail of the light is a little bit thicker, and that's just due to the heat sink as well as this OLED display clip. It's very rigid, so you're not going to have any issues with this light falling out of your pocket. In fact, you could almost say it's too rigid for some. But personally, I don't mind. I just put this thing into my jeans and I feel more confident about it not falling out. So checking out the tail end of the flashlight, you can see there are a couple of switches. And you see one of them is raised, so you can tell them apart in the dark. There is also a lockout switch here on the side. Basically just two positions. Top is lock. Okay, bottom is to unlock. Nitecore are using a 2500 milliamp hour battery inside the EDC29, and there's also a USB-C charging port here on the side, covered by a fairly rigid port cover, and it's cleverly disguised. I almost couldn't find the thing in the beginning. I really like this OLED display that Nitecore have implemented. I think it's perfectly done. The brightness is at a good level, not too bright, and it also turns off quickly when not in use. The display shows a few different features. So you've got battery voltage, also you can select or pre-select modes in there. It also estimates, as you can see for a second, estimates how much battery life is remaining on each mode once you turn it on, which is really useful. The EDC29 also has this proximity sensor here in the head, and this sensor only activates when you're using the high mode. So high mode is basically 1200 lumens. So if I've got it here, 1200 lumens, press, and you see it activates. It only activates when an object is in front prior to pressing. So if I activate 1200 lumens and then stick my hand in front, it's not going to activate. And it also doesn't activate on the turbo spot or the turbo mode, which I think is a really good choice that Nitecore have made, because if you're going to be using this light for self-defense or maybe in confined spaces and stuff like that, you don't want the light to step down unnecessarily. So here comes the exciting part. Nitecore are using a couple of LEDs which I've never seen before. These are their UHI 20 Max LEDs, together rated at 6500 lumens, and not actually able to verify the actual output, but several other reviewers have reported in excess of 8500 lumens from this light. So yeah, no wonder this thing nearly blinded me up close when I first used it. And the design of these LEDs is just something I've never seen before. They come with 9 emitting surfaces per LED. So you got 8 for these flood LEDs on the side. Nitecore call it the lumen shield, and one for the spot LED in the center, circular emitting surface. So it's going to produce a nice round hotspot. And each emitting surface is roughly, 1 millimeter squared or less. So they're really small dye surfaces, and the orange peel reflectors as well does make sense in this kind of design to create a more blended beam for all the emitting surfaces. I do like that Nitecore are using a anti-reflective lens there on the front as well. So that is definitely going to help in terms of light transmission, extra durability, and it is, as you can see there, slightly recessed in there as well. Again, just adding to that extra durability. Okay, so let's have a look through the UI. Now the lock switch here on the side, basically the up position fully locks the light, down for unlocked. There is a way also to semi-lock the light so that only the lumen shield 3000 and 6500 lumen, which are basically the two highest modes, are only available. So it's kind of akin to a basic tactical UI mode. Essentially all you do is you have the press that switch here, the lower switch, and then you lock the light. And then when you turn it on, you can see here it says semi-lock. So if I try to press this secondary higher button, which is basically to activate the lower kind of EDC modes, that doesn't work, but you've still got access to those tactical modes when you need them. And you can slide down and upwards again to disable the lock or just go into unlock mode. This lower switch has 2 steps. So if you press very lightly, you get that 3000 lumen spot mode and then 6500 lumens. And you can see there's this power remaining bar, okay? And it regenerates after you lift your finger off the button. And this is just to stop the light from overheating. I've only seen this appear on the 3000 and 6500 lumen mode. The cool thing as well is if you don't want that 6500 lumen mode on the full press, you can swap that over into a strobe mode. So basically you press this and then press that, the second button, there you go. You've got a a strobe mode, which doesn't really seem to step down, at least from a decent amount of sustained use anyway compared to the other modes. And you can swap it back again just by pressing that and then that at the same time. So yeah, I do like that customization ability. You know, some of you might prefer that strobe. For me, I like to keep it on that big 6500 lumen mode. This lower switch is pretty easy to use. So basically you just half press it, and when the light is off, you can half press it to pre-select the mode. So say if you want 400 lumen mode, you can pre-select it, screen turns off. And when you turn the light on, it goes to 400 lumen mode, turn off. If you half press as well, that's shortcuts to 15 lumen mode. And if you full press, it still remembers that 400 lumen mode. While the light is on, you can also half press just to switch between those different modes. So I ran a bunch of ceiling mounts tests with the Lumen Shield 6500 lumen mode and then the 3000 lumen search mode. And you can see at the start, you've got that spike, that really large spike for the 6500 lumen mode. It only lasts a few seconds before it steps down, and the same deal there with the search mode. So you do get a little bit longer usage on the search mode though, because obviously it's not generating as much heat at 3000 lumens. So yeah, this isn't the type of light that you can have sustained turbo output. You know, Nitecore have had to implement this feature, otherwise you'd probably burn out the LEDs very quickly. So it's more sort of, you know, if you wanted to spot something momentarily, if you wanted to use the light in a self-defense situation. You know, I've seen some other reviews where people have been using lumen tubes to measure the total output, and a few reviewers have consistently got 8,000 to 8,500 lumens out of this light, which is, you know, another 2,000 over the specs, the official specs of the EDC29. Here's a second ceiling bounce test that I ran on the high mode, and you can see here light starts off at 100% on 1200 lumens and steps down to about 40% output. And I ran that test for about 16 minutes. I do like that you get about 1.5 to 2 minutes of runtime on that high mode as well. Still pretty good, again, given the small, thinner sort of size of this light. And I did run a final ceiling bounce test on the high mode, 400 lumens, and no issues at all. It managed to hold that output for 25 minutes plus. The EDC29 produces a blinding wall of light, so yeah, definitely be careful if you're activating the light up close. There's a surprisingly distinct hotspot too. It almost appears perfectly circular despite the dual reflector design, so Nitecore have really done a good job to make sure that they've somehow focused and balanced this beam nicely. So some considerations before you go ahead and get the Nitecore EDC29. There is a non-replaceable battery, and like I mentioned, it comes part and parcel with a lot of these flat style flashlights. It's the reason they're able to keep them down to this size. And I don't know if it's possible to source a battery from another third party. Seems quite straightforward to get into the case, but Nitecore officially have said that, yeah, there is no battery replacement for this light. So once it's over, it's over. So a second consideration is that if you're going to be using this light on the turbo mode, you know, 3000 or 6500 lumen mode, you're going to deplete that battery a lot faster. So the high mode is pretty good. I mean, you can use that for 2+ hours continuously. And there are some lower modes in there, which I personally use more often. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. And of course, that turbo mode only lasts for a few seconds each time. So think of it more as like a mode you'd use to spot something very quickly. Third consideration is I would have preferred a deep carry clip on this light, but I see the utility of having the light stick out of your pocket slightly for easy access, so you can grab it, and to prevent accidental activation. The fourth consideration is that I wish the EDC29 had some kind of moonlight mode in there. You know, 1 to 2 lumens in there would have been great just for reading, perhaps. Overall, the Nitecore EDC29 is the tactical light I've really been waiting for. I don't feel that wow factor for most lights I review these days, but this thing is seriously bright, throwy at the same time. It's the perfect tactical light for a night out or short trip, as you're unlikely to exhaust the battery during that time, especially on the lower modes. And there's definitely compromises with this light, such as that non-replaceable battery, lower run times, but that's something that you need to factor in if you want a light that's pocketable, easy to carry around, puts out nearly 9,000 lumens of blinding output as well. For my purposes, for a night out or a short trip, it's perfect for me. So yeah, as an EDC self-defense light, I like that it can fit in my pocket without me even noticing. So yeah, if you're interested in getting one of these, go ahead and check out the link in the video description. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and click the like button. It helps me to get the video out to more people. And if you want to keep up to date with the latest flashlight reviews and news, make sure you subscribe. Yeah, I've got the Nitecore EDC29, and we'll start this one straight off on the lowest mode, 15 lumens, and surprisingly throwy. I mean, it goes all the way to the front of that grassland area there. Let's step it up a notch, 100 lumens. Okay, still doing, it's doing pretty well. It's going to the middle of that field even. Let's step it up another notch, 400 lumens. And look, I mean, 100 to 400 lumens is pretty much all you need in a really dark location. These modes don't step down as well. This mode here, the 400, is more like a medium mode. Okay, let's go up another notch. Now this is 1200 lumens, and really impressed at how far this thing throws. At 1200 lumens. Got a really tight hotspot in the center, but just tons of spill. Good that Nitecore have chosen to go with these reflectors as well. I just find that the spill is always a bit stronger on these reflector lights, especially on lower modes. So let's turn this off, and I'm going to put this onto the full 6500 lumen mode. My God. Holy cow. Okay, and that was the step down. Alright, so it's got the lumen shield mode on now, but just with the step down. Let's have a look. It's regenerating, and I'll get another go now. I mean, this thing just, it's incredible how much light it produces. And you can also activate just the normal, just the normal spot mode like that. You notice it's just, it's stepping down as soon as you turn it on. There is a little power indicator bar, power remaining bar, that lets you, basically makes you wait a little bit before you can reactivate it. So what I'll do, I'll just go through maybe this scenario here. Maybe you might be on, this, what's this, like 400 lumen mode or 100 lumen mode, something like that, 400 lumen mode, and then you decide to activate the spot mode. So look at that. So you can just suddenly illuminate an area that you need to see, or conversely, you can use the 6500 lumen mode, which is really 8000 plus lumens for a moment, but it sort of toggles in between this 400 lumen mode and that blanket of light. So, where you need it, you're just able to activate it. Okay, like that. So, I think it's actually quite useful. But, in terms of actually long-term sustained output, it's quite, you're not going to get that on this light. This is the most you're going to get, that 1200 lumen mode, and that even steps down to, to this level here when the light gets pretty hot. But, yeah, you do get a little bit extra runtime just on that spot mode, search mode, which is 3000 lumens. Okay, but you can only activate it if I'm just continually activating it over and over again. You literally only get, less than a second of output before this thing will step itself down, and that needs to happen because it's just too much heat for this light to handle. So I'll go up for a bit of a walk and just show you what the beam profile looks like. Nitecore EDC29, and I'm going to activate this on the 15 lumen mode. 15 lumens, you can still kind of see the end of that path a little. It's difficult to see here in camera, but you've got a nice circular hotspot. 65 lumen mode, and this is going to be a great walking light, I'd say. More than enough light for most purposes. Just walking around. Now 400 lumen mode here. Ton of light. Especially because you don't have much light out here. There's a little bit of ambient light. (1200 lumens). Pretty much see everything. And I like how the beam profile has this nice centralized hotspot, but then a ton of flood as well. And if we compare this highest, the high 1200 lumen modes to the 6500 lumen mode, let's have a look. Whoa, okay, that just drowns out everything. Holy cow, that's incredible. And just the spot mode, so the search mode. So if you want to have a look and see what's at the end there, maybe you're just on this mode here. The what's this one? Oops, that is 100 lumen mode, and you want to see what's down the end, half press, and you've got that spot mode, so it really nicely illuminates. And once it steps down as well, which we'll wait for it to do so, there we go, you've still got enough throw to see out into the back. Okay, but those 3000 or 6500 lumen modes, they only last for a few seconds. They're not meant to be modes that have prolonged sustained output. And 1200 lumen mode here does have decent sustained output though. But yeah, the 400, that's gonna hold. So I'll go for a little bit of a walk, just show you the beam pattern. Got the EDC29 here, and down a little alleyway. This is 15 lumens and 100. Even down the end, it's just really reaching there right to the end quite easily. It's not a long alleyway. 400 lumens, tons of spill as well, and here we have the 1200 lumens. And that is pretty. Tell you what, that is pretty amazing. In the 1200 lumens. Now I'm going to go down and hit the 6,500 lumen button.